So for number 7, we're supposed to find the domain of the function and then identify any horizontal and vertical asymptotes. So first off, for our domain is going to be all x except, or but, and then if we take the bottom, set it equal to 0, it'll be x equals 2. Okay, well that helps me because my vertical asymptote I now know will be at 2 because it can't be my domain, it will be my vertical asymptote. So those two should match up. Your domain and your vertical asymptote should match up. Okay, as far as horizontal asymptote, when we look at our exponents, our exponent here is 1, our exponent here is 1. So since they're the same, we're just going to take what's in front and divide them, not the 2's, I'm taking the coefficients. And so my coefficients are a positive 1 over a negative 1. So my horizontal asymptote is y equals negative 1. So that would be number 7. Alright, so for number 9, we've got the domain. And so I need to set the bottom equal to 0. If I solve that, I get x squared equals 1. Square root both sides. I'm going to get x equals plus or minus 1. Don't forget your plus or minus. So the domain is all but x equals plus or minus 1. My vertical asymptotes then are going to be x equals 1 and x equals negative 1. Remember, I need that x equals. I need the equation of a line there. For the horizontal asymptotes, we're going to look at our exponents in the numerator and denominator. I see that this is top heavy. That means it falls down, goes boom, nothing, right? There is no horizontal asymptote. Alright, so now we have the domain of number 11. And so I set the bottom equal to 0. This will probably be useful to use a box. So I get x squared, I get 9, x and x. Neither 9 and 1 or 3 and 3 are going to work, right? So then we have to do what? The quadratic formula. Okay? So yeah, it happens. Okay, so the quadratic formula is going to be negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, which would be 36, all over 2 times a, which is 2. So we get negative 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 35 over 2. So it's negative 1 plus or minus I square roots of 35 over 2. Now, what does this tell me about the domain? It's all reals, it's all numbers, because you can't graph an imaginary anyway, right? So you can graph everything. For the vertical asymptotes also, there are no vertical asymptotes, okay, because you had imaginary, so there's none. Okay, horizontal asymptotes on the other hand, if we look at our exponents, we've got a 2 and a 2. That means they are the same, so I take what's in front of them and divide them. So y equals 3 over 1, which is just y equals 3. So now we're going to change it up a little bit. Number 17, you're supposed to find the zeros, if any. So the zeros are x-intercepts. We're finding x-intercepts. And when you're finding an x-intercept, y equals 0. So we are saying that this is 0. So we have 0 equals x squared minus 1 over x plus 1. Now if you remember the other day, we have a couple ways we could go about this. One is to say let's get rid of that denominator. Let's multiply by x plus 1 on both sides. Now when you do that, these are going to cancel out. So you get x squared minus 1 equals, over here anything times 0 is 0. So really, all I'm doing is just saying that the top equals 0, right? Don't they match up? I'm really just saying the top equals 0. So if you can remember that, fine. If you can't remember that, then just go ahead and solve it. So I add 1 to both sides, square root both sides. So plus or minus 1 equals x. So that means my x-intercepts are 1, 0 and negative 1, 0. Those are my x-intercepts. Okay, so if we look at the denominator, we cannot have negative 1 there, so that is not going to be one of my zeros. Just that. Good catch. So again, we're finding the zeros, which means, oh, I forgot the beginning part of it, 19 h of x equals. Okay, so this is 0 if I'm finding the zeros. So that means 0 equals 2 plus 5 over x plus 2. It's going to be a little bit different because on this one now, we have that 2 right there, which means you can't just multiply by the denominator and get rid of it. So first off, I move the 2 over. So I have negative 2 equals 5 over x plus 2. Now I multiply both sides by x plus 2. Oh, x squared, thank you. Calm down. Okay, so I'm multiplying that times 2. I'm going to put bubbles so I don't think I'm subtracting. Okay, multiply through by -2, so -2x squared minus 4 equals 5. Okay, I'm going to subtract, or I'm going to add these over the other side because I want to work with positives. So now I have 0 equals 2x squared plus 9. Subtract 9 from both sides. Divide by 2. Square root both sides. And I get I. I don't even care about the rest of it. At this point, I say what for my zeros? No zeros.